Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rumaisa Zara, and I would like to welcome all of you in this live session of Marham and ICI Pakistan Pharmaceutical. The topic of our live session today is childhood and adolescent nutrition requirements. जैसे कि आप लोग जानते हैं, बहुत सी मदर्स, बहुत से पेरेंट्स जो हैं इस चीज़ के बारे में बहुत परेशान होते हैं कि उनके बच्चों की ग्रोथ नहीं सही हो रही, उन्हें पता नहीं होता कि उन्हें किस तरह की अपने बच्चों की डाइटरी हैबिट्स करानी चाहिए, किन चीज़ों को उन्हें अवॉइड कराना चाहिए, किस तरह की जो है डाइटरी हैबिट्स होनी चाहिए। तो इस सारी चीज़ के बारे में हम आज डिस्कस करेंगे और हम जानते हैं जैसे कि बहुत सारे बच्चे जो है उनको अनीमिया का मसला होता है, बहुत सारे बच्चों को कैल्शियम डिफिशिएंसी के प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं क्योंकि ये जो एक एज ऐसी होती है जिसमें ग्रोथ हो रही होती है बच्चे की, उसकी फिजिकल ग्रोथ हो रही होती है, मेंटल ग्रोथ हो रही होती है। तो इसमें न्यूट्रिशन क्या रोल प्ले करता है, कितना रोल प्ले करता है, आज हम इस सब चीज़ों के बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे। तो आई वुड इंट्रोड्यूस एंड वेलकम आवर गेस्ट स्पीकर मिस जोहा मतीन, जिसको हम सारे जानते हैं एज जोहा द न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट। Thank you so much, Ms. Zoha, for joining us for this live session and coming live with us.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. And I'm really excited to have a very informative session today.
सेम लाइकवाइज मिस। जैसे कि आप जानती हैं आज हमारा लाइव सेशन का टॉपिक है चाइल्डहुड एंड एडोलेसेंट न्यूट्रिशन रिक्वायरमेंट्स और इस बारे में हम जितनी भी आपको पता है बात करें कम है। तो हम इस लाइव सेशन को स्टार्ट करते हैं। साथ साथ मैं हमारी ऑडियंस को बताती चलूँ कि आपके कोई भी क्वेश्चंस हैं इस टॉपिक के रिलेटेड तो आप हमारे कमेंट सेक्शन में क्वेश्चंस कर सकते हैं और हम कोशिश करेंगे कि हम जितने भी क्वेश्चंस ले सकें हम वो लेने की कोशिश करें। थोड़ा सा मिस जोहा आप हम अपने बारे में हमारे ऑडियंस को थोड़ा सा इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं।
So I'm a studied nutritionist. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in human nutrition, and I have many years of experience working in clinics and hospitals. So at one point, I actually worked in an infant, child, and adolescent nutrition clinic in Canada. So lots of children, के parents को guide करना. I've had experience with that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ms. Zoha, for coming live with us. आपके इतने vast experience के साथ, it is going to be a pleasure for us to, have this live session and talk about such an important topic. तो जोहा हम क्या हमारे जो एक प्रेजेंटेशन है जो आपने हमारे ऑडियंस को गाइड करने के लिए की हुई है, कैन आई स्विच दैट ऑन?
Yes, please. All right, everyone, welcome to the presentation. So I just want to give a little overview. It is a little bit numbers heavy. So remember that this live session is also recorded. You can always go back in the slides, pause it, see the numbers again so that you understand a little bit better. But hopefully it'll be nice and clear. So today we will be talking about the importance of adequate nutrition for children and adolescents, the role of a balanced diet, food groups, and appropriate feeding behavior by age and gender. So age and gender ke hisab se the nutrient requirements change. So I'll be going into the specifics, especially with an emphasis on the key vitamins and minerals or micronutrients. And then I'll be discussing common deficiencies kaun si hoti hain that we have to especially pay attention to, और उनके food sources क्या होते हैं जो बच्चों को खिला सकते हैं. So what is malnutrition? तो malnutrition होता है जब body को enough vitamins and minerals नहीं मिलते तो they cannot maintain their healthy tissues and organ function. So some of the consequences of malnutrition अगर काफी देर के लिए it's a problem is diminished cognitive development या brain development की hinder हो सकती है, उनकी stunted growth या physical development हो सकती है, तो उनकी short height, underweight, etc. Lower immunity, frequent infections हो सकते हैं, and then it also increases the risk of disease in older adulthood. तो obesity, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, certain types of cancers, ये सब इन सब की risk बढ़ सकती है even much later in life अगर in the early years बच्चों को सही nutrition नहीं मिलती. तो it's very very important कि उनको उनकी dietary habits early on बहुत अच्छी हो, and of course the caregiver या parent is most responsible in the early stages for giving their children this nutrition. So how do we guarantee that a child has enough nutrition? उनको क्या खिलाया जा सकता है? तो when I worked in the infant child nutrition clinic, we used to just ask the parent कि अच्छा आपका बच्चा दिन में क्या क्या खाता है. So when they would just give us their food diary, we would compare it to this chart. So this chart shows कि okay, according to the age group, उनकी food groups की क्या requirement होती हैं. It's really important कि सारे 4 food groups से बच्चे खाएं, which includes like your proteins, meat alternatives, dairy and alternatives या milk, yogurt products, grain alternatives, whole grains होते हैं, roti, rice, things like that, and then your vegetables and fruit. So it's important that according to their age, as you see on the top, according to their age, it says कि उनको कितनी food groups की servings चाहिए होती है. On the right of the table, you can see कि what is one serving. This is use a very general guideline. And then what is really important is a child's energy needs या उनको कितनी calories देनी चाहिए. तो according to age that is also broken down कि एक बच्चे की कितनी requirement होती है for energy और calories. तो energy कहाँ से मिलती है? हमें energy मिलती है जो carbohydrates, proteins and fats हम जो खानों से खाते हैं, ठीक है? And carbohydrates are important because they're very essential for your brain function, for growing muscles. They also provide fiber in the diet. So हमारी primary fuel source for the brain is carbohydrates, so we need quite a bit of it. Proteins also very important for growth development and the repair of muscles and tissues in the body. Or healthy fats का भी बहुत important role होता है for brain and nerve growth in children, hormone production and the absorption of fat soluble vitamins. फैट्स के बगैर हम विटामिन ए डी ई एंड के नहीं एब्जॉर्ब कर सकते, इसलिए इट्स रियली इंपॉर्टेंट. हमने सुना होगा कि फैट्स शायद अच्छे नहीं होते, लेकिन healthy fats are super important for your child. So calories basically it will be divided between carbohydrates, proteins and fats that they get from their diet. So if you see the table below this, तो by age लिखा होता है whether male or female उनको कितनी calories लेनी चाहिए, also based on their activity level. So let's say age 2 to 3, मेल और फीमेल के सेम रिक्वायरमेंट्स होते हैं. अगर वो एक्टिव नहीं है तो उनकी कैलोरीज 1000 है, एंड इट्स द सेम फॉर मॉडरेटली एक्टिव एंड एक्टिव. बट लेट्स से अगर बच्चा 9 to 13 ईयर्स का है, मेल एंड फीमेल्स की रिक्वायरमेंट्स थोड़ी चेंज हो जाती हैं, एंड बेस्ड ऑन देयर एक्टिविटी लेवल दैट कैलोरी नंबर ऑल्सो ग्रोज. सो ऑफ कोर्स यू कैन ऑल्सो, again this session is recorded, you can go back to these tables and refer to these numbers to see कि अच्छा whatever child that you are dealing with, whether you're a healthcare provider or a parent, कि okay approximately उनको कितनी calories दिन में मिलनी चाहिए. And it's important कि इस calorie number से हम बहुत कम ना खाएं या उससे ज़्यादा ना खाएं, बिकॉज ज़्यादा खाने से ओवरवेट या ओबेसिटी हो सकती है, वो एक्सेस एनर्जी फैट के अंदर स्टोर हो सकती है, तो यू ऑल्सो डोंट वांट दैट. एंड इफ़ यू ईट मच लेस देन दीज कैलोरीज तो फिर बच्चों को अंडरवेट हो सकते हैं. So now we'll talk about the food groups for a balanced diet. Again, based on that calorie number that we determined in our last slide. Okay, if we had a 9-year-old child who is moderately active and we know okay maybe they need 1600 calories, उसके हिसाब से per food group आपको कितना देना चाहिए. So according to this table, let's say for a 1600 calorie diet, we need 1.5 cups of fruit. So by the cup, we mean these metric measuring cups, okay? They are your guideline for how much fruit to give, and then vegetables, grains, proteins, and milk and milk alternatives is also in this table. So just thinking of, okay, if in your child's daily diet, how are you going to split this up into 3 main meals and 2 to 3 snacks per day? So if you divide it that way, your child gets all of these different food groups in these amounts. It is important to realize that young children do not have a very high appetite. उनका पेट छोटा होता है, तो वो एक टाइम पे सिर्फ थोड़ा थोड़ा करके खा सकते हैं. तो you need to serve 3 main meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, और बीच में उनको छोटे छोटे snacks दें. तो snacks can be things like fruits, and आप milk का glass दे दें, things like that, so that they are meeting their overall requirements. As you see in this table as well, dairy or milk alternatives का काफ़ी high intake ज़रूरी है. तो for young children all the way to adults, it's all the way to adolescent 18 तक, between 2 to 3 cups की उनकी ज़रूरत है, which is quite a lot. So just making sure कि throughout the day that you are giving this much, because it is very important for a child's bone health and development.
मिस दोहा, क्वेश्चन है बार बार आ रहा है, मैं साथ साथ ले लेती हूँ. आप कप का साइज दिखा दें, मैं आपकी जो स्क्रीन है वो सोल्व कर देती हूँ ताकि हमारे ऑडियंस से. यस.
So ये metric measuring cups baking में यूज होते हैं, आप ये खरीद सकते हैं
ठीक है.
in any stores.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's another tip is it's about the size of your fist. अगर आपकी बंद मुट्ठी है, that's the same amount as 1 cup. Okay.
ठीक. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So as a child goes from childhood to adolescence, what changes are taking place and how are the nutrients requirements changing? So from from the age of 2 until adolescence is around the time of puberty. Growth थोड़ी slow होती है लेकिन steady होती है, okay. And जिनकी poor diet है, they just have to make sure that they are paying attention to iron, calcium, vitamins A, D and C. ये ज़्यादा बच्चों में deficiencies नज़र आती हैं, इनकी diet थोड़ी poor होती है, so just to pay attention to those. And then as the child goes into puberty या adolescence की तरफ जाते हैं, एकदम से उनकी बहुत dramatic increase in height and weight होती है, उनकी requirements बहुत बढ़ जाती हैं, उनकी appetite बहुत बढ़ जाती है इस time में. So just to be aware of that, right before puberty they're going to have a big increase in their appetite, उनकी calorie needs बढ़ जाती हैं, so they have higher calorie needs, उनकी protein, iron, calcium, zinc and folate की needs की भी बहुत बढ़ जाती हैं. तो zinc is very important for reproductive maturity. बच्चों में zinc is important but not as much as the adolescent year में zinc reproductive maturity के लिए बहुत important होती है. इसके अलावा B vitamins भी बहुत important होते हैं for a child's for a teenager's cognitive growth and development. Insufficient B vitamins can lead to skin diseases, it can lead to depression. They're really needed for a child's stress hormone levels of management to prevent any issues from taking place, any cognitive developmental growth. So B vitamins उसके लिए बहुत important होती हैं. So this table is a bit text heavy, but these are basically according to the research, बहुत सालों के लिए research की गई है on a population level के by age group कितने milligrams, micrograms की ज़रूरत होती है per nutrient need. Okay, so if you go through this table and you go through the ages and the specific nutrients, so that's at the top of this table, you can find how many milligrams are needed per age group, per gender. So you can refer back to this table if you need. And same with this one. So this one's similar to this, the previous one. It just has different vitamins and minerals in it. The idea is not to get overwhelmed by these numbers, लेकिन just to understand कि अगर आप अपने बच्चों को सही number of food groups दे रहे हैं और उनकी variety बहुत है diet में, कि आप different types of vegetables and fruits उनको offer कर रहे हैं, different types of grain products, different types of milk alternatives, कभी yogurt दे दी, कभी cheese, different grains like कभी जौ का आटे की रोटी दे दी, कभी oatmeal बच्चों को दे दिया, rice दे दिया, तो उसमें थोड़े different nutrients होते हैं, तो it ensures a lot of variety. So if you are giving them those the food groups that they need, they will meet all of these nutrient needs. Okay, guys, सारे nutrients पूरे हो जाएंगे, so you don't have to focus too much on these numbers, but this is just for a reference. At a population level, the research shows these values are what is adequate and important per age group. So now I'll be going through specific nutrients that are very, very important for child growth and development, as well as teenagers. So these specific nutrients are more likely to be deficient in a diet. So इसलिए I'm really focusing on these ones.
I'm adding this, Zoha. बहुत सारे लोग क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं कि एनीमिया की डेफिशिएंसी बच्चों में कैसी होती है, बिकॉज आपको पता है कि कितने सारे बच्चे जो हैं ग्रोइंग एज में उन्हें एनीमिया का प्रॉब्लम होता है. तो आई थिंक दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट और हमारे ऑडियंस बार बार इस चीज पे क्वेश्चन कर रहे थे, तो मैंने एक क्वेश्चन अपडेट कर लिया.
Thank you so much. So basically iron in our body, अगर iron enough नहीं होती through our diet, what happens is कि anemia develop हो जाता है, iron deficiency anemia. This is a big problem because we need iron for the hemoglobin in our red blood cells. What that means is that hemoglobin is needed to transport oxygen throughout the body. अगर enough oxygen नहीं transport हो रही, it can cause a lot of issues, which presents itself in things like pale skin, tiredness हो जाती है, poor appetite, poor weight gain, frequent infections and developmental delay can be caused by iron deficiency anemia in children. And in teenagers, it can show as also cold hands and feet. It can show, again, being very fatigued and tired, a lot of hair loss, a lot of brain fog and heart palpitations also. These are some of the signs and symptoms to be aware of that can show an iron deficiency. Lekin it's so important to realize that हमारी population में, the Pakistani population, we actually have the highest rates of iron deficiency in the world. Compared to anyone else, हमारी iron deficiency बहुत high. It's a really big population problem. And it's especially more of an issue for children under the age of 5. According to their body size and how much they eat, उनकी उनकी iron needs actually बहुत high होती हैं. तो you have to make sure कि अगर the child is under the age of 5 कि आप उनको बहुत सारे iron rich foods दे रहे हैं in a smaller amount in the diet. Okay, you're offering a lot of iron rich foods. The other issue that happens is with women or females that are post puberty, जिनकी menses हो चुकी होती हैं, उनकी iron needs बहुत high होती हैं due to the levels of blood loss. So they need as much as 18 milligrams of iron per day, which is kind of difficult to get. So it's very important to focus on those foods that provide the iron. Varna, if needed, you can always take a supplement as well, but making sure that iron deficiency is not an issue. And the two, again, the age groups that are more susceptible are males and females, both types of children under the age of 5. Unko 7 milligrams needed hai, as we can see on the table on the right, and females need 18 milligrams. So iron in food sources is can be found in red meat. So beef, liver, mutton, इनमें बहुत सारा iron होता है. Chicken में भी थोड़ा सा होता है. Fish में होता है. Eggs, nuts, dal, beans, chickpeas. Fortified breakfast cereal एक बहुत अच्छी source हो सकती है. तो बच्चों को cereal खाना भी थोड़ा पसंद होता है. Breakfast में उनको fortified cereals दें, उसमें बहुत सारा iron होता है. And dried fruit and dark green leafy vegetables का भी इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. Dark green leafy vegetable spinach होंगे, बहुत सारे spinach बच्चों को खिलाएं. And a very important tip is that जो भी आप iron rich foods अपने बच्चों को present कर रहे हैं either in a meal or a snack, उनके साथ एक vitamin C rich food pair करना बहुत important है. Vitamin C आपकी iron की absorption body में increase कर लेती है. तो at the same time उनको कोई iron rich foods दे दें. Let's say आपने कीमा बनाया हुआ है, तो बीफ का कीमा होगा, वो बहुत हाई आयरन रिच फूड है. उसके साथ आप बेल पेपर्स कीमे में डाल दें या स्पिनच कीमे में डाल दें और उसको मिक्स कर दें, तो उस that will be a good combination of your iron and your vitamin C. Another thing is कि अगर आप बच्चों को बहुत सारे let's say नट्स खिल दे रहे हैं या बॉइल्ड एग दे रहे हैं, उसके साथ आप थोड़ा फ्रूट उनको दे दें, लाइक हाई विटामिन सी रिच फूड लाइक ऑरेंजेस या कीवी या स्ट्रॉबेरीज उनको एग्स या नट्स के साथ दे दें, तो दैट विल आल्सो इंक्रीज द आयरन एब्जॉर्प्शन फ्रॉम द एग्स और द नट्स. The next nutrient we will be talking about is calcium. Now, calcium की बहुत deficiency है पाकिस्तान में and in children because sometimes they do not drink 2 to 3 cups of milk every single day. So you have to make sure कि at least 2 to 3 servings of dairy बच्चों को मिल रही है, up to even 4 servings in older teenagers. That's how much they need. Their calcium needs are actually higher than adults. So teenagers between the age of 9 and 18, उनकी calcium needs adults से भी higher होती हैं because they're going through such rapid growth. उनकी bones develop हो सकती हैं, तो इस time पे calcium is super important. So here on the slide, we can see the dietary sources of calcium. It includes milk, cheese, yogurt, हमारे dairy products, breakfast cereals, again, जो fortified होते हैं with added calcium. उनको खाने दें with some white sauce या cheese sauce like pastas आप offer कर सकते हैं. And then the vegetarian sources are nuts and seeds and spinach, which are high in calcium. Now, why calcium is especially important, it not only builds strong bones, but it's really also important for teeth health, to prevent weak teeth. It's very important for also efficient nervous system and for muscle contraction के लिए भी बहुत important होते हैं. And it's really important कि by adolescence, by the about the age of 20, उस टाइम तक आपका पीक बोन मास बिल्ड हो रहा होता है, और आफ्टर दैट टाइम व्हेन द पीक बोन मास हैज बीन बिल्ड, उसके बाद थ्रू आउट योर लाइफ टाइम आपकी बोन मास steadily decrease हो रही होती है. So it's really important in order to prevent osteoporosis later in life. Okay, until teenage years, you're really focusing on getting enough calcium to develop very, very strong bones, because after that, it's only going to go down. ठीक है, तो हमारी कंट्री में बहुत हाई रिस्क है of osteoporosis. It's very, very common, especially in women. Osteoporosis is basically weak and brittle bones that break very easily. So a lot of hip fractures and things like that, a lot of falls occur in older adults due to osteoporosis. And osteoporosis is बहुत ही silent disease होती है, बिल्कुल पता भी नहीं चलता, and you really don't know how strong your bones are until you're doing some sort of scan. So very important again to get enough calcium to protect the bones for later in life. Another important nutrient is zinc. So zinc, again, like we mentioned, especially for not only growing children but really for those adolescent groups, it's it's important for the reproductive system, for the brain. It's very, very important for our immune system to prevent any infections and fight diseases. And it's also very important for wound healing. So jo bache khelte hain bahar and they get a lot of scratches and a lot of, scrapes and bruises, unki wound healing ke liye it's really important to have enough zinc. So the best sources of zinc are actually from meat products like meat, chicken, seafood. So the other good sources are from dairy, eggs, potatoes with skin, mushrooms, khilade, whole grain breads and cereals, dals and beans. Zinc is not so much of an issue in developed countries. They can develop in countries where it is still a big issue. Pakistan is a developing country, so we have to be a little bit careful. The deficiency can basically show itself as a lots of appetite, decreased growth, increased risk of cold and infections. तो जिन बच्चों को बहुत सारी colds होती हैं, infections ज़्यादा होते हैं, शायद उनको एक zinc deficiency हो, so you should be aware of that. Impaired memory, learning disabilities, and poor attention span can also come from zinc, so it can impair their school performance. On the right, you can see the table which shows according to the age and the gender कि उनको कितने milligrams per day of zinc की ज़रूरत है. So the next important vitamin that is also a risk for deficiency, especially in younger children, more so in younger children versus older children, is vitamin A. So vitamin A has a very important role in our eyesight, skin production, immune system, and protection from infections as well. So my food sources of vitamin A include all orange colored vegetables and fruits. So that's a very easy one. Whatever is orange has or yellow has a lot of vitamin A, like carrots, bell peppers, they're yellow, hote hain, papayas, apricots. Also, tomatoes are high in vitamin A. And then your other animal products include cheese, eggs, oily fish. Then your fortified breakfast cereals also have a good amount of vitamin A. And vitamin A deficiency can show up as a lowered immunity and cause dry and scaly skin as well as impaired vision. So for vitamin A is very, very important for vision. जिन बच्चों को vitamin A ज़्यादा नहीं मिलता in their developing years can develop a lot of eye issues, even to the point of blindness अगर बहुत malnutrition होती है. So that's why we know vitamin A is really important. And on the right we have this table that shows us how many micrograms per day is required per age. And I see.
यस, साथ साथ मैं ज़ोहा में एक क्वेश्चन अपडेट करना चाह रही हूँ कि एक ऑडियंस में से एक मदर ने शायद क्वेश्चन किया है कि 9 से 12 साल के बच्चों को हम मल्टीविटामिन दे सकते हैं. आई थिंक इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू डिस्कस दिस क्वेश्चंस, क्योंकि इस तरह की बहुत सारी मदर्स को जो है इस तरह की क्वेश्चंस होंगे, वो जानना चाहेंगे कि क्या उन्हें देने चाहिए या नहीं देने चाहिए. तो आप प्लीज हमारे ऑडियंस को थोड़ा सा इस बारे में गाइड करते हैं.
So the best way is to try to get it from foods. Food sources पे ज़्यादा ध्यान दे कि उनसे ही ये nutrients मिल रही हैं सारी. लेकिन अगर ये पॉसिबल नहीं है, अगर आपका बच्चा बहुत फसी ईटर है, फॉर सम रीजन दे आर नॉट ईटिंग इनफ ऑफ दीज फूड ग्रुप्स, देन आप उनको मल्टीविटामिन एक्चुअली दे सकते हैं दैट इज अप्रोप्रिएट फॉर देयर एज. सो देयर आर child multivitamins. You should not give them the adult ones, लेकिन child specific ones you can definitely give to your child. But I would say talk to a doctor or a nutritionist first. The best course of action is आप nutritionist को visit करें if you're really concerned, and they can help to guide you on how to make it possible to give your child the nutrients from the food itself. Lekin फिर भी if it's not possible, you can opt for a vitamin.
मैं ज़ोहा एक और क्वेश्चन मैं अपडेट करना चाह रही हूँ. इज देयर एनी रिवर्स इफेक्ट ऑफ आयरन एंड कैल्शियम इन कंबाइंड डोज? तो ये आप क्वेश्चन है, इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा गाइड कर दें.
Thank you, Sohail. This is a very good question. So, if you take a multivitamin that has both iron and calcium in it, the amount of iron that is absorbed from the vitamin itself is a little bit lower because calcium does interact with the absorption. जैसे vitamin C iron के साथ लेने से इसकी absorption बढ़ती है. If you take calcium with iron, उसकी absorption थोड़ी decreased हो जाती है. So it is, if you are being very careful with your iron intake, if you are in the high risk group for developing iron deficiency anemia, a good tip is to actually separate your calcium rich foods and your iron rich foods from each other in the same meal. And let's say अगर आप multivitamin ले रहे हैं with both of them, there's no adverse effect. So there's no negative effect on your body. It's just just that जो iron उसमें है वो थोड़ी कम absorb होगी. So let's say if it's 10 milligrams of iron in that supplement, maybe about 70-80% of that would actually be absorbed, and the rest might be hindered because of the calcium in the supplement. Great question.
ठीक है, मैं जोहा एक और क्वेश्चन आप कर सकते हैं कि थोड़ा सा आप हमारी ऑडियंस में गाइड कर दें कि किसी भी बेबी को या किसी भी बच्चे को, किसी भी चिल्ड्रन को अगर किसी भी किस्म की कोई क्रॉनिक किडनी डिजीज है तो उसकी जो डाइट है उसमें उसके डूज एंड डोंट्स क्या होना चाहिए, थोड़ा सा हमारे ऑडियंस में गाइड करते हैं.
I would say you really need to speak to your dietitian or doctor for this, as they give very, very specific advice based on the
केस
child
स्टडी.
itself. But you have to be really careful about their potassium levels at this time. So I think further guidance with a doctor would be important
ठीक
for
है,
this.
ठीक है, ठीक है. डॉक्टर साहब, एक एक क्वेश्चन है जो मैं आई थिंक मैं खुद पर्सनली बहुत ज़्यादा क्वेश्चन बार बार रिपीट भी हो रहा है, और ये क्वेश्चन है जो बहुत ज़्यादा लोग कह रहे हैं कि बच्चे जो है वो खाना नहीं खाते, जो है बहुत चूजी होते हैं, वो कहते हैं हमने ये नहीं खाना, ये नहीं खाना, और उनकी जो है पेरेंट्स उनको काफ़ी ज़्यादा कहते हैं कि मतलब उन्हें खाने की कोशिश करवा रहे होते हैं, लेकिन ड्यू टू ऑल दीज रीजंस जो हम लोग स्नैकिंग करवा देते हैं चिप्स की या बिस्किट्स की, इस तरह की चीज़ों की, तो इस तरह के पेरेंट्स को आप क्या गाइड करना चाहेंगे?
So in the next slides, I will be talking about this actually towards the end of our presentation. So guys, please stay tuned till the end of the presentation. I will definitely be addressing this very important issue, because लोग कहते हैं yes, I know, that's great, this information आप बता रही हैं क्योंकि इतने micrograms और इतने servings पर हमारे बच्चे शायद नहीं खा रहे होंगे, they're being a bit fussy. So what should we do about that? So I'll help guide you. Alrighty. So the next nutrient that is very important and we've all heard of कि हमारे बच्चों में बहुत deficiency होती है, हमारे adults में भी बहुत deficiency होती है, वो है हमारी vitamin D. तो vitamin D हमें 2 sources से मिलती है, हमारे खाने से और sunlight से. So for children, it's really important. Vitamin D is important to combine with calcium for strong bones. Sometimes we only hear calcium when it's related to strong bones, but vitamin D is also very important for strong bones. It's also important for protecting against diseases later in life. It's important for immunity, and it's important for the teeth. So the 2 ways that you can get your child to have enough vitamin D, unko 15 to 20 minutes daily sun exposure thoda karwane, not too much more than that, and then the rest of the time uska sunscreen lagaएं. And then unko vitamin D rich foods bhi de dein. If you see the table below in the center, those are all the food sources of vitamin D. So breakfast cereals fortified with vitamin D, margarine, egg yolks में बहुत सारी vitamin D होती है, oily fish, liver, the milk products, etc. have lots of vitamin D, and mushrooms. Vitamin D is actually not found in a lot of foods, so it's really important कि ये list पे बहुत तवज्जो दें to get enough vitamin D in your child's diet. And the signs and symptoms of vitamin D is tiredness, fatigue, irritability, poor growth, delayed teething. So अगर आपके बच्चे को delayed teething हो रही है, perhaps it's a vitamin D issue. Swollen joints, muscle spasms and seizures, and rickets and bowed legs in children. So to prevent rickets and bowed legs, doctors actually prescribe until the age of 1 that बच्चों को no matter what एक vitamin D drop मिलनी चाहिए. We're not talking about infants today, but in general, because it is such an issue that is very prominent, where rickets हो जाते हैं, where बच्चों की टेढ़ी टांगे होती हैं, they never outgrow that. It's a permanent issue. So for that reason, very early on, parents should be very aware of their children's vitamin D intake. And on the right of this slide, you can see how many international units or IU are required for these age groups. So between the age of 1 and 18, you need 600 international units or IU, which is the same as 15 micrograms of vitamin D. So lastly, we're talking about our last group of very important vitamins for child development, and especially teenage development. Is also important for both groups. But we have all of the B vitamins. Now, the B vitamins are very important for metabolism, for energy, brain function, heart health, and the nervous system in very specific ways. So there are many B vitamins. You can go over the slide again. I won't go through all of the information in a lot of detail, but please do go back, pause this video, and see the different specific roles of the specific vitamin Ds. important for again our healthy red blood cell production, digestive system. B vitamins actually help to support get the energy out of your macronutrients. जो हमारे fats, carbohydrates और proteins होते हैं उनसे energy निकालने में B vitamins की use बहुत important है. It helps to metabolize those macronutrients to release the energy, so we need vitamin B's for that. So some symptoms of a vitamin B deficiency include anxiety, irritability, fatigue, slower than normal growth and development, as well as skin rashes. If your child is having a lot of skin rashes, it may be due to a vitamin D deficiency, or any sort of skin diseases really are related to vitamin B deficiencies. So again, the vitamin B requirements are listed here in milligrams. Vitamin B rich foods include things like meat and seafood, dairy, eggs, fruits, especially citrus, banana, and watermelon, leafy green vegetables like our spinach, beans, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and cereals. So whole grains में बहुत सारे B vitamins होते हैं. तो making sure that आपके बच्चों को आप processed white नहीं दे रहे हैं, white bread नहीं दे रहे हैं, but whole grains दे रहे हैं, like brown bread instead of white bread. Early on उनको ये आदत डाल दें, so they're not too used to having the processed ones. And then vegetables like beets and potatoes also have a lot of vitamin B. Now we'll talk about which foods should be limited in the diet. We talked about all these healthy foods, all these vitamins that need to be really incorporated. Again, thinking that when a child is young, they only have a very limited appetite. So, us time pe it's really important to focus on all those healthy foods. As a child grows older into adolescence, they have more of an appetite, more of a more requirements, higher requirements. They still need all these healthy foods, but some things that really get in the way is when children and adolescents fill themselves up on the wrong foods. जब वो wrong खाने खाते हैं, either उनका weight उससे बढ़ता है by eating this list of foods, or they are at risk of micronutrient and macronutrient deficiencies, because this just takes the place of all those healthy foods. Let's say if they had a soft drink instead of a fruit, उससे उनका पेट भर जाएगा, then they're not going to have the fruit, let's say. So the foods that especially need to be limits are salt, processed foods, high fat foods, and very greasy foods, basically. The table sugar, soft drinks, fruit juices, chocolate cakes, biscuits, ये इन चीज़ों की आदत नहीं डालें अपने बच्चों में. इनको स्नैक्स में नहीं दें. Sometimes just in passing between, they come home from school, you just hand them a cookie. Even if they want it, you should not give your children this. घर पे ना रखें. Use it as a very occasional indulgence. I wouldn't say it's a treat or something to bribe your children with. Definitely don't do that. If you use it as a bribing tool, then the child wants it even more. So it's really important to really just have it very occasionally and keep that very like a normal habit in your house. Juices बच्चों को बहुत देते हैं. We've heard a lot about juices, but a lot of the commercial juices also have a lot of sugar added to it. So if you are giving your child a juice, it should be fresh juice or no added sugar wala juice. एंड जूस ज़्यादा देना भी नहीं चाहिए इतना. बच्चों को होल फ्रूट उनको खिलाना चाहिए ताकि उनको इनफ फाइबर मिले. बट प्योर फ्रूट जूस अगर आप दे रहे हैं अपने बच्चों को, तो यू शुड डाइल्यूट इट विद 50% वाटर एंड 50% जूस इन अ स्मॉल कप एंड गिव इट एट द सेम टाइम एज अ मील. तो अगर वो लंच खा रहे हैं, एट द एंड ऑफ द मील यू कैन गिव देम लाइक हाफ अ कप ऑफ ऑरेंज जूस. Orange juice at that time will also be good as my vitamin C hoti hai, like we mentioned before, with their iron rich foods. If you pair them together, it increases that iron absorption. So sometimes you can give these juices, but 50% usko pani ke sath dilute kar dein. Foods high in fat with very little nutrients and very high calories are an issue, especially for those younger children. ये high fat foods खा के जो unhealthy होते हैं, like biscuits and fast foods, processed foods, chips, things like that, उनसे उनका पेट भर जाता है. फिर वो सही वाले खाने नहीं खा पाएंगे, तो उनको ये processed foods कम दें. Caffeine containing drinks, absolute no. Your child absolutely does not need any soft drinks or energy drinks or things like that. It can cause sleep problems and bedwetting in children. As well, unko hyper kar deta hai if you give them a lot of caffeine or any caffeine at all. So really cut out any caffeine from their diet. And again, if you give a lot of high fat foods, high sugar foods, things like that, your child is at risk for becoming overweight or obese, jo thoda mushkil hota hai in children to get down. A great way to prevent obesity in your children is really to keep them very physically active. Every single day, a child should play outside for between 1 to 3 hours, so that they're getting enough health benefits from the activity, as well as keeping their weight down. Now, I promised that we would talk about how to feed your fussy child. So I have a few tips. So from the beginning, जब से बच्चे बहुत छोटे होते हैं, it's really important to set a very, very good example for your children. जो they will they will copy their parents and whoever is around them and their peers. So अगर आप घर में उनको दिखाएंगे कि हम fruits and vegetables खा रहे हैं, they will be more interested to eat those fruits and vegetables. Whatever you don't want them to eat, आप उनके सामने वो ना खाएं because they love to copy their parents. So setting a really good example is very important. A positive role model के जाती है. Whatever you're eating, eat as a family. सब एक ही चीज खाएं is best for the child. At least for one meal in a day, maybe dinner time. अगर सारे meal साथ family नहीं खा सकती, तो at least dinner time सब साथ खाएं, so the child can see the parents and siblings and everything like that eating the same food as them, which encourages them to eat it without. Um, in my role in the infant child and nutrition clinic, हमें सिखाया जाता था कि जब बच्चे कुछ मांगते हैं and they refuse the food that is on the table, they say कि नहीं मुझे अभी hot dog खाना है, I don't want to eat this food. आप अपने बच्चे को भूखा रखें, आप उनको कुछ ना दें. ओके, डू नॉट गिव इट टू देम, क्योंकि एंड में जब उनको भूख लगेगी वो इवेंचुअली आपसे जो भी पड़ा होगा वो मांग लेंगे. वो भूखे नहीं रहेंगे फॉर वेरी लॉन्ग, ट्रस्ट मी. इट इज ए when children are growing older, they can speak after the age of about 2, etc. They know that they can trick their parents. They know that they can blackmail their parents. They know that they can be fussy. Parents eventually will give in and hame de denge. So at that time, honestly, you need to be very firm, very friendly, but firm with your child. That this is what is offered in the house. You can eat it or you can leave it. They will not go very long hungry. I will
This is
promise you that.
very
Do
important.
not
Yeah.
give in. Do not give in. Keep them hungry. They will eat in the end whatever healthy food is offered at the table. Try to, अगर आप new foods अपने बच्चों को introduce करना चाह रहे हैं, pair a healthy food with unhealthy food. तो एक ही plate में आप उनको उनका favorite kind of food दें. Let's say they want to eat pasta, उसके साथ you want to introduce maybe a little bit of carrots or some vegetables. आप उसको साथ करें तो उनको ज़्यादा appealing लगेगा. Other ways to encourage children to eat healthy in their early years is to make it a fun environment and not put a lot of pressure on the child, so that जो eating environment होती है अगर वो pleasant होता है, हंसी मजाक, making it fun instead of a stressful environment, children are much more likely to develop better eating habits at that time, which carry on later into life. अगर इस time पे when the child is young आप उनके अंदर somewhat healthy habits develop कर रहे हैं, that can really lead into later on, versus children who maybe didn't eat so healthy for their before teenagers, उनको फिर later on habits change करने में बहुत मुश्किल शायद होगी. So better to establish those eating patterns early. Really, for young children, up 3 balanced meals again and 2 to 3 nutritious snacks. They make it very varied and appealing. So maybe for young children, cutting the food up into little shapes. So आप molds use करके fruit को triangle shape में, star shape में उनको खिलाएं, वो उससे excited होंगे. Use games. Better not to turn the TV on, but really just keep them very engaged and make it very fun. Sing songs while you feed them. तो उनको maza aega, they're more likely to try it. And it's not guaranteed that your child is going to try the food that you're going to make. Okay, even if you offer it to them many times, they're going to say no, they're going to be fussy. But do not give up. Very gently up again and again वो उनको reintroduce कराएं. Eventually it is likely that they will try it. By taking your child also to the grocery store and involving them in the meal prep, even up to the age of adolescence या teenage, अगर हम उनको साथ ले जाएं, उनको पूछें कि अच्छा out of all of these vegetables in the grocery store, what should we make today? So when they feel involved and they feel like हमें थोड़ी choice या independence मिल रही है, children crave independence at this age. They love to make decisions on their own. इसलिए parents से थोड़ी resistance भी होती है. तो अगर हम उनको involve करें या cooking में उनको थोड़ा involve करें, थोड़ी baking उनके साथ करें, they become a lot more excited about the healthier foods. So you just want to be exciting them. It's a very very important tip कि आप बच्चों को ज़्यादा force feed ना करें, because then they will develop a very resistant relationship to food. And children are actually very good at regulating their own appetite. जो आप उनको serving size दे रहे हैं, they are actually very intuitive, so they know that when they are full, they just want to stop. At that point, you do not stuff them and try to feed them more, but whenever they want to stop eating, they'll stop. जो बचा हुआ है आप उनको, whenever they ask for food again, you can offer that same food as well as a snack, jo leftover them, but really respect their fullness levels. And again, do not give in when they want the unhealthy foods and they're crying for the McDonald's. You just have to set some firm, friendly boundaries with your children, that this is what's offered, and this is what you're going to get. And occasional kabhi kabhar treats de them, but the more that you're going to give them these soft drinks and things like that, unko aur bhi sugar addiction ho jayegi. It makes it a bit
बिल्कुल,
harder.
बिल्कुल। आई वांट टू रीकोट दिस कि हमारे यहाँ पे इतना ज़्यादा इस चीज़ को प्रमोट और इतना इतना एनकरेज किया जाता है कि अगर कोई फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल किसी ने किसी को ब्राइब करना है, कोई जो है शाबाशी देनी है, एप्रिशिएट करना है अपने बच्चे को, तो उसको कहता है लेट मी टेक यू फॉर आइसक्रीम और लेट मी टेक यू गेट यू समथिंग, सम जूस और सम चिप्स।
Hmm.
सो ये जो कॉन्सेप्ट है हमारे बच्चों के अंदर, हमारे पेरेंट्स ने ही इनकॉर्पोरेट किया होता है कि इफ यू डू समथिंग गुड, इफ यू, उन्होंने खुद ही गुड
Hmm.
फूड बैड फूड का उन्होंने डिक्लेयर कर दिया होता है कि यू आर गोइंग टू गेट आइसक्रीम और चॉकलेट और जूस और whatever जब तुम अच्छा करोगे। मतलब व्हाई डोंट वी स्किप दिस और हम इसकी जगह कोई अच्छी हैबिट्स या कोई अच्छा उसको फूड चॉइस दें, ताकि वो उसको पता चले कि ये हमें अच्छे करने के बाद भी हमें ये चीज़ मिलेगी। तो आई थिंक ये वाला
Absolutely.
कॉन्सेप्ट है हमारे पेरेंट्स में, ये हमारे ऑडियंस में, हमारे मदर्स को, हमारे पेरेंट्स को ये चीज़ सीखना बड़ा ज़रूरी होगा, क्योंकि फिर हमारे पेरेंट्स या हमारे पास बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स आएँगे और बहुत सारे लोग आते हैं और आके पूछते हैं कि जी हमारा बच्चा तो सिर्फ चिप्स खाता है या वो तो नहीं खाना खाता या वो इस चीज़ के लिए बहुत फसी होता है, बहुत ज़्यादा रोता है। तो ये सारे चेंजेस हमारे ऑडियंस को, हमारे पेरेंट्स को अब ये बताना, गाइड करना, उनको एजुकेट करना और उनको इस बारे में जो है बताना कि किस तरीके से हम राइट चॉइसेस कर सकते हैं, तो हम यही कर रहे हैं।
Absolutely. It is, you will have certain more fussy children, less fussy children. Even in the same households, mother can say कि एक बच्चा बिल्कुल आराम से खा लेता है और दूसरा इतना fussy है, but just don't give up and keep reintroducing that food. It is very important कि आप अपने बच्चों को good and bad food का इतना polarize ना करें कि oh my god, if you finish your vegetables, I will give you chocolate. You know, that's really making a very, the chocolate seems so much more shiny and something that they will want if you keep doing that association with them. That agar once in a while chocolate deni, you give it in a very neutral format. If you want to praise your child in any way, praise them really for eating the healthy foods. Always give encouragement. Children love encouragement. If they are eating a healthy food that you presented, they finished their plate, you really want to give them a lot of praise. They will love it, and they're likely to keep doing that behavior. Agar aap apne children ko, you know, for good marks or whatever you want to treat them, do not treat them with unhealthy morsel foods, but give them a gift or take them to the movies or take them to the park. Do some sort of maybe physical activity or something with them as that like prize, instead of always saying, okay, you're going to get a prize if you know, of chocolate or cookies if you do this. It just sets those a better foundation for them. And again, physical activity is super important for maintaining energy. So make sure that your child is playing outside and going to the park, आप उनको ले जाएं, do activities with them. It's really going to help them maintain that weight. And again, variety. बच्चों को बहुत दिन जिनको a tip for mothers, जिनको vegetables, अगर बच्चों को vegetables नहीं पसंद है, आप छुपा के vegetables खाने में डाल दें. Okay, so some healthy things you can do. Seeds को आप grind करके अपने आटा में डाल सकते हैं with whatever roti that you're having. So you can put अलसी के seeds grind करके अपने आटे में डाल सकते हैं. You can make pasta sauce, but pasta sauce के अंदर blender में spinach डाल दें या carrots डाल दें. वो जब blend हो जाएंगे ना, it'll be the same consistency as the pasta sauce. Your child will not be able to tell the difference. So that way उनको, you know, sneakily they will get their vegetables in. उनको fruit smoothies बनाए, juices इतने ना बनाए, but to get their milk and yogurt intake in, उनको बहुत सारे fruit smoothies बना के दें that have milk and yogurt and fruits, not too much added sugar. उसकी smoothies बनाए, children really like that, to get their fruit intake in if they're not very keen on fruits. So those are some of my tips for encouraging some healthy eating. And lastly, this is the end of our presentation. So today we talked about how children and teens are really going through a lot of rapid, quick growth, and उनकी nutrient requirements quite high होती हैं, sometimes higher than adults. So it's very important to be really also aware of the common deficiencies that occur in children and adolescents, like iron deficiency and how to correct it, calcium, vitamins A, B, D, and zinc, and make sure that they're eating those specific foods. You can always go back in the star slides, pause the video, and make a note of all these specific foods. And then, of course, if you give the foods like in our very first slides, agar aap sahi food groups mein denge, they will be able to get all of their needed vitamins and minerals. And if the diet is poor, you may be able to talk to your doctor about supplementing with a multivitamin or very specific vitamins if needed. Thank you so much.
That was great, Zoha. आपने सारी ही चीज़ों के बारे में डिस्कस कर लिया. We discussed everything, every little bit of everything. हमने आयरन को डिस्कस कर लिया, हमने कैल्शियम को डिस्कस कर लिया, जिंक को डिस्कस कर लिया, और विटामिन्स को, मिनरल्स को, एवरीथिंग. तो हम थोड़े से क्वेश्चंस वो लेंगे, अपटेक करेंगे ऑडियंस में से, बिकॉज बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं जो लोग आपसे करना चाह रहे हैं. तो हम कोशिश करते हैं कि जितने भी हम लोग आज के टॉपिक से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस कर सकते हैं, जो थोड़े जेनेरिक क्वेश्चंस हैं, ऑब्वियसली हम कोशिश करेंगे कि हम पर्सनल क्वेश्चंस ना लें, क्योंकि हर इंसान की एक पर्सनल हिस्ट्री होती है, तो हिस्ट्री के बगैर वी कैन नॉट गाइड प्रॉपर्ली. ठीक है. डॉक्टर साहब, जैसे कि आप जानती हैं कि आप बहुत सारे लोगों को कॉन्स्टिपेशन का बच्चों को मसला होता है, तो आप ऑडियंस में जो पेरेंट्स जिन बच्चों को कॉन्स्टिपेशन का या डायरिया का मसला है, पेट का मसला है, उनको किस तरह की डाइट लेनी चाहिए या क्या चेंजेस करनी चाहिए डाइट में, थोड़ा सा गाइड करते हैं.
So for constipation, the two major players are fiber intake and water intake. Making sure that your child gets enough water in the day. 6 to 8 cups is for younger children, 6 cups. For older children, adolescents, maybe 8 to 10 cups. They need to make sure You need to make sure that they're getting that much fluid intake every single day to prevent constipation, as well as that soluble and insoluble fiber, which is found in our fruits, vegetables, dals, beans. इनका बहुत यूज करें. सो होल ग्रेन्स लेने से, अगर आप अपने बच्चे को चक्की के आटे की रोटी या पॉरेज, ओटमील का पॉरेज या जौ का पॉरेज दे दें, उससे कॉन्स्टिपेशन उनकी कम होगी. नट्स एंड सीड्स का यूज करें, चिया सीड्स उनको दें, उससे कॉन्स्टिपेशन कम होगी. एंड अगेन, फ्रूट्स एंड वेजिटेबल्स से कॉन्स्टिपेशन बहुत कम हो सकती है. सो ट्राई टू गिव देम ऑल दीज फाइबर रिच फूड्स टू प्रिवेंट कॉन्स्टिपेशन.
जोहा, थोड़ा सा इस बारे में भी गाइड करें कि जो उनसे बच्चों को लैक्टोज इंटॉलरेंस होता है, तो उनकी डाइट में क्या चीजें होनी चाहिए और क्या चीजें नहीं होनी चाहिए.
Thank you so much, Nausheen, for this question. It's an amazing question. तो अब मार्केट में लैक्टोज फ्री मिल्क मिलता है by this company. I don't know if I can name the company. Day Fresh. So lactose free milk market में मिलता है. It's a blue box. They are the only ones that make lactose free milk. So instead of normal milk, आप उनको lactose free milk दे दें. Another thing is that sometimes जो बच्चे milk में लैक्टोज नहीं टॉलरेट कर सकते, वो योगर्ट में कर सकते हैं. तो इंस्टेड ऑफ मिल्क, आप अपने बच्चों को एटलीस्ट 2 सर्विंग्स ऑफ योगर्ट एवरी डे दे दें, एंड एज वेल एज चीज. योगर्ट और चीज में लैक्टोज कम होता है, सो इट यूजुअली डजंट कॉज दोज डाइजेस्टिव इश्यूज दैट मिल्क कॉजेज. ओके, so that is how you can still get your dairy products in without having lactose containing milk.
हाँ जी. जोहा, एक और क्वेश्चन है जो बार बार अपटेक आ रहा है कि कौन से ऐसे फूड्स होते हैं जो क्रॉनिक किडनी डिजीज में हम लोग को अवॉइड करने चाहिए, बिकॉज आपने थोड़ा सा गाइड किया था, एक क्वेश्चन पहले भी अपटेक हुआ था जिसके ऊपर आपने कहा था पोटेशियम से रिलेटेड समथिंग. थोड़ा सा आप बता दें डूज एंड डोंट्स के कौन से वाले फूड हम लोगों को लेने चाहिए, कौन से नहीं लेने चाहिए.
So I'm not an expert at kidney disease, so I can't answer this question.
ठीक है. थोड़ा आई थिंक the foods which are have high potassium, थोड़ा सा आप उस बारे में थोड़ा सा गाइड करते हैं.
So bananas and potatoes have high potassium, as well as some other foods. So you want to just have a whole list of high potassium, medium potassium, low potassium rich foods, key guideline from your dietitian or your doctor, and really refer to that and get guidance from them on how to manage. So you really do want to avoid the high potassium foods whenever possible.
ठीक है मिस जोहा, आई थिंक हमने काफ़ी सारे क्वेश्चंस अपने कर लिए हैं और काफ़ी ज़्यादा डिस्कशन कर लिए, लेकिन एक और क्वेश्चन है जो बार बार मदर्स ने रिपीट किया हुआ है। वो ये है कि हमारे उनके जो बच्चे हैं, बहुत सारे बच्चे ग्रोइंग एज में बहुत सारे चूजी हो जाते हैं, जैसे कि वो कहते हैं कि हम जैसे बहुत सारे लोग कोशिश करते हैं कि जी बेकरी आइटम्स इस्तेमाल करें या कोई भी फास्ट फूड या प्रोसेस्ड फूड को जो है वो चूज करते हैं इंस्टेड ऑफ द ऑर्गेनिक द राइट चॉइसेस अपने लिए। तो आप थोड़ा सा गाइड कर दें हमारे पेरेंट्स को वो किस तरह की डाइटरी हैबिट्स, बिकॉज चिल्ड्रंस के लिए तो थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट होता है, लेकिन फॉर एडोलेसेंट्स द द पैटर्न्स और द वो सारी चीजें थोड़ी डिफरेंट होती हैं। तो जो एडोलेसेंट्स के लिए है थोड़ा सा उसके लिए आप गाइड कर दें।
I think with adolescents, it's more about giving them a lot of knowledge. So अगर ये स्कूल में पढ़ाया जाए लेकिन या पेरेंट्स थोड़े reinforce करें these messages even from a young age, a really good idea is जब बच्चे छोटे होते हैं and you're more in charge of feeding them and offering them the foods, try to educate your children कि देखो ये हम एप्पल खा रहे हैं, एप्पल में हाई आयरन कंटेंट होता है, एप्पल में ये होता है, इट्स सो गुड फॉर यू, you know, उससे उनको just from that initial exposure to the knowledge, they will carry that on in their knowledge in their teen years. तो उनको थोड़ी guide करें, उनको education दें, and then the teenagers will be able to make better choices as they choose, because with teenagers they have a mind of their own, right? They're not really going to listen too much to the parents. They were going to go to the school canteen and वहाँ जो मिल रहा है. But if they are more conscious of these choices and they're trying to be healthy, which a lot of teenagers are now, then they will be choosing slightly healthier options. Make sure कि घर में जो आप offer कर रहे हैं, that your fridge is stocked with a lot of healthy options, so that they always know that there are healthy options available. If they open the fridge, there's fruits and vegetables and different kinds of things in the fridge that they can opt for. Bake healthy items at home. इतनी सारी recipes हैं online for healthier baked goods. आप थोड़ी substitutions कर दें, like using less butter, using more milk, using less sugar, those kind of things in your baked goods to make them healthier. There's a bunch of healthy recipes that are also very delicious. So if you offer them at home, it encourages your children and your teenagers to eat better. But in terms of teenagers, I think you cannot force too much upon them because they really do make their own decisions, but giving them the knowledge and tools will help to encourage them.
और ज़ोहा एक और क्वेश्चन है जो बार बार रिपीट हो रहा है, बहुत सी मदर्स जानना चाहती हैं, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल चिल्ड्रंस एडोलेसेंट्स जो है अपने लंच टाइम में वो अपने कुछ लंच बॉक्सेस के उनकी कुछ होते हैं, तो थोड़ा सा हमारी मदर्स को आप गाइड कर दें कि जो आप किसी भी चिल्ड्रन को या किसी भी एडोलेसेंट को आप एक लंच बॉक्स दे रहे हैं तो उसके अंदर आपके मेजरली पोर्शंस क्या होने चाहिए, आप किस तरह उस चीज़ को सेट करें।
It would depend on again the calorie needs, the age and gender of the child, but healthy options that you can give in a lunchbox to teenagers could be something like a whole wheat ka sandwich with chicken in it, usme tomatoes and lettuce dal dein, that's a little bit of vegetables. You can give them chopped up carrot sticks and cucumber sticks jo wedges ki tarah cut hote hain, uske sath thoda hummus ya yogurt dip de dein, so they can dip yogurt. Cut up fruits for them, thoda shayad mini yogurt ka container unko saath de dein. So these are very very healthy options. Wraps de dein, things like that. Chole de dein. Also very high in fiber. So those are things that are very easy to take.
यस, जिसमें हमारे सारे फूड ग्रुप्स किसी तरीके से मर्ज हो जाएं और हमारी एक कंप्लीट होल प्लेट बन जाए।
Absolutely.
परफेक्ट, थैंक यू सो मच मिस जोहा, आपने पूरा आज हमारे लाइव सेशन में हमारे ऑडियंस को इतने बेहतरीन तरीके से गाइड किया सब चीज़ों के बारे में, कितनी सारी चीज़ें हमने डिस्कस की, चाहे वो चिल्ड्रन की न्यूट्रिशन रिक्वायरमेंट्स हों, एडोलेसेंट्स की न्यूट्रिशन रिक्वायरमेंट्स हों, क्या हमारी डाइटरी प्लान्स होने चाहिए, क्या क्या हमारे लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है, किस किस चीज़ को अवॉइड करना चाहिए, अगर आपके बच्चे फंसी हैं या किसी चीज़ को लेकर पिकी हैं तो किस तरीके से आप किस तरीके से उनके पैटर्न्स बेहतर कर सकते हैं। सो आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक यू for giving us such a great session, हमारे audience को इतना guide करने के लिए and taking our time and speaking such an important topic and coming live with us.
Thank you so much.
No problem. साथ साथ I would like to thank ICI Pakistan Pharmaceutical for giving us this initiative ताकि हम इस टॉपिक के बारे में डिस्कस कर सकें और हमारे ऑडियंस को गाइड कर सकें। अपना बहुत सारा ख्याल रखें and we will be back with another live session and another topic. Thank you very much. Thank you.